let's go, let's go.
Six Flags Over Texas, located in Arlington, Texas, is the first Six Flags park, and yet, despite its historical value, the park needs some work. As contrary to how the park started, some of the theme around the park can be very confusing, with areas themed to Texas history, but right across the park you have DC themed lands. And compared to the original theme of all Six Flags with 6 different countries, that original idea is long gone, as well as the themed aspect of the park. But what if there was a way to upgrade over Texas, a plan that can turn the park from becoming a one-day visit all the way to a theme park destination? This is what I call the restructuring plan. About a year ago on my channel, I created a video called the Over Texas Restructuring Plan, which discussed my thoughts and ideas on how to upgrade over Texas. Ideas ranging from a cohesive theme around the park, upgraded rides and attractions, and upping the experience of Over Texas. It took a lot of work with very creative ideas, but because the park is so large, I only did the right wing of the park, leaving the left side to a mystery. But in today's video, we're going to finish up the restructuring plan that showcases my ideas on how to fix Over Texas and revive the park into what it used to be, an icon in Texas. But before we get into today's video, if you're new here, welcome to the channel for all those thrill seekers. All JB Thrills make all sorts of content related to theme parks and thrill rides no matter where they're located. And specifically for those Texas enthusiasts, this is your source of news for all Texas theme parks. So if you're interested, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know when new videos come out on my channel. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Before we get into the actual restructuring, we need to reinstate the goal and purpose of this restructuring plan. Since the park started, Over Texas was based on history, but due to controversial sections of the park and a not so clean history, that theme had to stray away. So it leaves you wondering, how could you fix Over Texas and bring back that Texas history theme? But after some investigation, I decided, why focus on Texas history solely when you can focus on Texas culture overall, the things around the Lone Star State that make it so amazing. And sure, this can be history, but also things that makes up Texas as a whole, from the iconic mining towns they used to have, to the large cattle trails, to the western pride in all the residents of Texas. These should be primary focuses of Over Texas, and this is how you bring the charm back into the park, while also reliving its history, in a way that's not controversial, and it's more of like a love letter to Texas. And this is the way to fix the park. And in today's video, we're looking at the left side of Over Texas, which includes areas such as the Mexico and Spain area, the backlot containing Titan and Sidewinder, the Texas section, the France area, the Tower section, and Shockwave Plaza. These areas arguably need the most work, as they do contain a lot of dead zones. So let's start off with the first area in the left side, the Mexico and Spain area. While the theming of this section of the park is actually pretty good, it's still a step down of its former glory, and this section of the park is literally just titled Mexico. And if we're doing a uniquely themed park, focusing on Texas culture over the history, naming the area just Mexico wouldn't cut it. So I introduced to you Pueblo Fiesta. This will be one of the 2 sections themed in Mexico and Spain. This themed area will be located in the space in front of El Sombrero, in that little plaza, and will finish once you cross into the Spain area. Its theme is a Mexican village that is always partying, hence the name Pueblo Fiesta, which in English translates to party village. There will be lots of vibrant colors everywhere, and just think of the way that Viva la Fiesta took place in Over Texas, but imagine it all centered in this location. So I'm talking banners everywhere, mariachi music playing, and speaking of mariachi, there's now going to be a new show that performs every 30 minutes or every hour, and it's just Mexican bands playing that little plaza area where shows typically take place. We'll also have walk-around characters that'll look like natives of the village, and they'll get to interact with guests and play around with them, telling some fake lore that'll get you further into the story of Pueblo Fiesta. As for some ride upgrades, El Sombrero mainly stays the same, but with more colorful theming in the queue, and a new lighting package that'll make El Sombrero light up the night all colorful, making it look like a dance party. The stores nearby will now have new facades that looks like buildings and shops in a Mexican pueblo. And La Fiesta de las Tazas will now be more appropriately themed to match with the whole party vibe, with colorful flags on top of the attraction, and a new soundtrack for the ride that'll change songs for every ride cycle, similar to how they do Terror Twister during Fright Fest at Grand America. Overall, this will make the area really vibrant, and it's probably one of my favorite changes in the park, because it makes the land way more fun. But the question is, what about that Spain area that contains Conquistador, El Diablo, and La Vibra, as well as Saladero and Casa Magnética? To me, this area seems very separate compared to Mexico. Even though it's pretty much the same thing, it differs a lot. And this is why I said Pueblo Fiesta is one of 2 themed lands in the Mexico and Spain area. For this back portion of the Mexico area, it now becomes Desierto de Aventura, which in English it translates to Adventure Desert. In Adventure Desert, it's the complete opposite of Pueblo Fiesta. Pueblo Fiesta can be very friendly and welcoming, but Adventure Desert is very dangerous and treacherous, with mysterious threats and dangerous wildlife. So of course, the area will look very abandoned, with giant statues and ruins, and walk-around characters that are either natives or desperados, with the music for the land being more tribal, as the theme is the middle of nowhere. And as for attraction upgrades, Conquistador now becomes Catastrophe, which means catastrophe, and it's also a synonym for shipwreck. Conquistador now looks like a wrecked ship that has a whole myth behind it, the myth of a shipwreck that also still sets sails, and moves despite no one being on it. The queue will now take the shape of a port that'll have posters everywhere telling the story of what happened to the ship, and overall upgrades the experience of a Conquistador. As for La Vibra, assuming it was still there, in the case the updates actually still happen, the attraction keeps its name, but is now centered around a myth of a giant snake called La Vibra that thrives in that desert. While exploring Adventure Desert, you actually come across with La Vibra, and you're swallowed alive as you go through the body of the snake, with the actual bobsleds looking like wooden carts, and snake sound effects that play as you go through the ride's layout, which honestly might just make La Vibra even better. As for El Diablo, it now becomes ruins, or restos in Spanish. The whole theme behind the attraction is an abandoned artifact that no one can explain. The fact that it's built like a ring, and the fact that you can ride around it, confuses everyone, so the attraction will now take more of a stone look, despite being made by metal, and the queue will be an interactive walkthrough that takes you into a temple with lots of artifacts, smoke effects, music, and surprises. Overall, this will look way better than a basic devil theme, and fit in so well with the abandoned adventure area. But of course, what about Casa Magnetica and El Aserradero? Well, as you walk further down, you'll encounter some more ruins. The Mexico and Spain area will be basically expanded all the way to that bridge that takes you to New Texas Giant. Casa Magnetica will keep its same explorer theme, which fits so well now with the area, and El Aserradero now becomes El Rio Lento, because after all, it's the newest attraction for 2024. The thing is, El Rio Lento will now take an adventure theme as you board a log that takes you around a jungle. Assuming these folks had a budget, they could definitely work with some effects like giant rock work, waterfalls, and jungle sound effects. And despite its name, the ride will be very extreme towards the end, as it'll have a big and very steep drop, which honestly will make the ride a lot more fun. And just like that, we have the upgraded Mexico and Spain area, which again are Pueblo Fiesta and Desierto de la Aventura, aka Adventure Desert. Originally, these two areas are two separate lands, the Texas area and the France area, but the reason why I include them is they're all really small. I wouldn't even consider them lands, as the France area is just a little area that contains no attractions and no restaurants, and used to be a smoking zone before now it's a pay VIP experience, which still is not worth it. And the Texas section technically includes Runaway Mountain, the Southern Palace, and that little walkway. Again, not big enough, and it doesn't flow together. So my solution is a themed area that includes the both of them, which I'm naming Johnson Creek. This name is actually already in the park itself, with Johnson Creek Station and some buildings already in that area that have the name Johnson Creek in it. So what is Johnson Creek? Well, the theme behind this area is a rural town located in one of the most beautiful parts of Texas. The whole point of this plan is to essentially put Texas on a pedestal, and one way to pay homage to the Lone Star State is honor its landscape. A lot of people forget that Texas is a beautiful state, from its flowers to its mountains. Texas is so large it has lots of places that are absolutely beautiful. And with the France-Texas area arguably being one of the most beautiful parts of Texas, why not up that beauty and showcase it in the park? And while I do love my theming to up the park experience, sometimes just beautification can make the park even better. So as I stated, the theme of this land is a western town, which will also combine a lot of Texas culture elements, from the wildlife of Texas to how it's like to live way out west. So of course there'll be walk-around characters that are residents of Johnson Creek and going about their daily business as we enter their town. The decor for the land will be all natural with Texas-based landscaping. Johnson Creek will also be the hub for all entertainment, with lots of varieties, from walk-around characters that'll interact with you, pop-up shows on the street that'll just happen at random times, and of course still shows inside Southern Palace. For thematic elements and upgrades, the shops and stores located in front of Runaway Mountain will be designed to look more like an actual town, with stores, houses, and things you can do and explore that aren't just the roller coasters. Essentially, Johnson Creek will be more of the calm area in a very busy park, and sometimes parks need that. For the actual attractions, Runaway Mountain will look more natural, with the waterfall actually operating in a theme that gives the vibe of a national park. You'll be given a tour into a mountain when all of a sudden things go wrong as wild animals hijack the tour. The actual ride experience will get new effects, with sound effects of wild animals and some new animatronics. Runaway Mountain plays with our senses, as the coaster is in complete darkness, but Over Texas doesn't really utilize it as much. So taking inspiration from Mayan Mindbender and Astral World, which was also an indoor coaster, but contains special effects of hissing snakes to add to the intensity, Runaway Mountain will do the same, with sounds of cougars, coyotes, rocks trembling and falling apart, and animatronics of alligators. And they don't even necessarily have to be animatronics, as they can be still objects, but come to life with the light flashing on them, and at high speeds it'll look like they're almost moving. And with that, that's Johnson Creek. Overall, it adds more to the area, makes it more calming, and will up the beautification of Over Texas. But what about the other half of the Texas section? The tower section is definitely the most confusing part of Over Texas. Even when it was themed to the Texas section, it never blended in. So in terms of making it match with the rest of the lands, here's my way of connecting it to Texas culture, introducing Caddo Harbor. While Johnson Creek's focus was on the inland of Texas and the beauty of the mountains and plant life of Texas, Caddo Harbor's focus is on the beaches of Texas, as many seem to forget that the Lone Star State has a giant coastline and isn't just all mountains and desert. Also, to make it very different than Fiesta Texas' boardwalk area, it'll be a primary focus on a harbor, meaning the themed elements in the area will range from props of big ships, machinery, and ocean life. And of course, we can't forget the walk-around characters. That'll be themed to pirates, sailors, and fishermen. In general, this area embodies everything from the coast, and is a giant love letter to the Gulf Coast area of Texas. A few years ago, a stage used to be located next to Spelunkers, but it's since been removed, and it's just empty space. And its spot we could have a few options, ranging from a new dining area to yet another flat ride, a Zimperla Nebulas, which could fit in if you theme it to an octopus, and the arms looking like the arms of an octopus spinning you around and around. Oil derrick will stay the same, considering that there's oil rigs in the middle of the ocean, and oil derrick can pass off as one. Of course though, with enhanced theming, updating the attraction, because some parts of it are pretty outdated. Past the oil derrick is where major changes start to happen. In the space of Texas Arena, two options could happen. One, they can update the stadium and bring about new stunt shows, similar to the old Batman stunt show that used to be located there. But if Six Flags stays away from entertainment, they can then replace it with a brand new roller coaster that's compact, but still a great addition. And if you look at the space of the arena, it's not very big, but hypothetically it could fit a Wild Mouse. Although that's not what I'm saying at all. Wild Mouses are pretty overrated and basic, but something new and exciting would be a Wild Moose from RMC. Because think about it, Over Texas is close friends with RMC, considering New Texas Giant is the world's first RMC. And bringing another one to the park that's for families, it'll be just perfect, and I would give it the name Jolly Roger, with the ride themed to pirates. For Superman Tower Power, we also get a major change, as the DC theme really sticks out. So in order to make it blend, Superman now becomes Tempest Tower. Themed to the crazy weather of Texas, the queue will take the look of a regular beach house with a giant hole right in the middle and a storm coming out of it, the tower representing the storm. The attraction will also have new themed effects, like brand new lights on the tower to make it represent lightning, and a thunder sound effect right before you plummet. Overall, it'll make this drop tower even more fun than it already is, and it's a perfect theme to match with the area. For Roaring Rapids, it keeps the same name, but it now has a new theme. The theme of you adventuring a wild river, where you accidentally encounter pirates and sea creatures. The attraction will contain new props, and a reference to the original Skull Island that used to be located in that area, with a giant skull rock you'll pass by while riding the ride. There will also be new water effects that splash out of the water, spray at you, and animatronics similar to the Calico River Rapids and Osprey Farm. Finally, for Dive Bomb Rally, it'll get destroyed and replaced with a brand new flat ride, which will be a Gerstlauer Sky Roller, a reference to the original plane ride that used to be located in that area, but also bringing a new thrilling ride. Texas Air Race will be the perfect addition to replace Dive Bomb Rally and make an attraction that's not an additional fee. Plus, it's a great historical reference, since Texas was the state responsible for hosting the first ever flight of the first ever airplane by the Wright brothers in 1910. So of course, some of its theme will take inspiration from that. And just like that, we have the brand new Caddo Harbor, which is probably one of the biggest areas in the park, but also be a lot of fun and fits so well with honoring Texas history and culture. For the area behind Oil Derrick, or what I like to call Shockwave Plaza, that area is definitely a dead zone. And it's no surprise why, considering that area only has Shockwave as a public attraction, with the go-karts being an upcharge and the Music Mill Amphitheater being defunct. So in order to attract guests into this area and make it upgraded, I introduced to you Music Mill, a reference to the actual Music Mill Amphitheater in the park, but also connecting the ties between Texas history and music. The area's sole focus will be the different genres of music and its role in Texas. So when it comes to attraction upgrades, Shockwave will keep its name, but have a brand new theme, themed to a radio station called Shockwave 62 FM, where the music comes alive. And the story is, the music on this radio station is so good you'll be writing every note. with the station of the attraction looking like an actual radio, and sound effects while waiting of the radio host talking about the music of the day right before you ride. And similar to Jolly Rancher Remix in Hershey Park, when the attraction dispatches, the genre of music will change, and it will be randomized every single ride. The genres you get to choose from is pop, orchestra, jazz, rock, and country. And while you're riding Shockwave, you'll actually get to have onboard audio of music playing. And it won't be the music you typically hear. It'll be a custom theme for the attraction, which actually is the Over Texas theme song. And depending on the genre given to you before dispatching, the theme song will be remixed to fit with that genre given. So a rock version of the Over Texas theme song, a country version, a pop version, and etc. And to make it even better, it'll match with the elements of the attraction, as the music gets more intense when you're going upside down, but slows down in the slower parts of the ride. Similar to Hard Rock Park used to do with their attractions, like Led Zeppelin. The trains for Shockwave will also be upgraded with a brand new paint scheme, but of course keeping the same trains, as I have heard the new Premier ones are not as good. This will modernize an historic attraction and keep its legacy going. As for the rest of the area, like I said, it'll be themed to music. The go-karts will also stay in its place, but now become Soundcheck Speedway, and instead of being an additional fee, it'll be free to all the guests, allowing you to race around, and of course matching with the theme by going through scenic elements that look like music as you speed through LED tunnels, and electro-type music starts playing. But wait, there's more. For the abandoned theme that's been sitting but not operating for a very long time, Music Mill Amphitheater gets a massive upgrade. Of course, Six Flags does not focus on shows anymore, so instead of being a place to hold shows, it'll now be the new location of a brand new roller coaster, named the Rondo. A Rondo's theme will focus around the orchestra genre of music. And as for who's making this coaster, it could be Premier, Vekoma, Mach, doesn't really matter, but the point is a multi-launch coaster. And honestly, Mach would be a really good fit, as we don't have a coaster that focuses on hang time, and a coaster like Copperhead Strike would be a perfect fit. And we've worked with Mach before. Again, this is solely an idea, but if Six Flags had the money and did these upgrades, Over Texas would look amazing. Now on to the final two areas of the park. With the Texas section being split up with the restructuring plan, it leaves that little plaza in front of New Texas Giant left out to dry. But here's where a new area comes in. As you step across that bridge, you'll be entering the bustling and busy streets of Wynn Square. Wynn Square is a 1920s plaza, complete with theming reminiscent of the Roaring Twenties. But of course with a western twist, because Texas did not do the Roaring Twenties the same as New York would. Some key elements of this area are the buildings surrounding the area having an Art Deco mixed with Western feel, and shows in the square that happen randomly. Some examples include a fake movie shooting happening, with the director yelling action, and actors pulling in guests to be in the movie, a flash mob of 1920s dancers interrupting the square, policemen guiding people where to go, and of course 1920s swing music in the ambience. As for attraction updates, some of them virtually stay the same, but with a brand new theme. For example, the Chaperone T-cars perfectly fit with the era of the theme, but of course with added stuff to make the experience even better. For example, onboard audio that'll retell the history of Over Texas and how the park came to be, but of course in a very fun way, of the narrator sounding like a 1920s radio host. There will also be swing music playing as you go around the layout, and to make the ride even more special, once you make the turn around the oil derrick, the story is that you made a wrong turn right into a warehouse, and in that warehouse you'll encounter mafia bosses, and a portion where it looks like you're actually driving on the streets of a 1920s town, with the mafia trying to chase you. This might seem big budget, but really it takes some blacklight effects and just a few animatronics. Plus, this allows for the Chaperone T-cars to actually operate if it were to rain, as the indoor portion will cover guests from any rain. Essentially, the first half of the ride will be a history lesson, and the second a full story that makes the ride even more fun. For New Texas Giant, it'll mainly stay the same, but have a new themed story of a newly invented car that'll take you places faster. But of course, the prototype is out of control, and you'll be speeding through intense airtime and wild turns as you pass around the square. And of course, you need to turn back the fire effect on. The train station will also stay the same, but match the 1920s aesthetic, and overall, while this is probably the smallest area in the entire park, even the smallest bits of theming make a big difference. Not to mention, it upgrades the legacy of all the attractions currently there. And for the last upgrade though over Texas, we have the area over by Titan. This area is also another dead zone, as it actually has no theming at all. The only purpose of it existing is Titan and Sidewinder, but other than that, there's not much to do. So keeping up with the pattern honoring Texas history and culture, I bring you Big Bend Ranch. With Texas culture having a primary focus on farming and farmland, this is the best way to honor that, with the area looking like an actual farm. Plus, it already essentially looks like that, with the queue of Titan having a windmill and all the crops nearby. But of course, with the farmland comes a twist, as the area is secretly a UFO hotspot that contains some mysterious objects and unexplained sightings. The reasoning behind this is Texas is known for having myths and legends that are unexplained and weird. But also down in Houston, Texas, we have NASA. So this area not only glorifies the farmlands of Texas, but the modern advances of Texas, as well as the myths and legends. So when you're entering the area, the first thing you see is normal farmland with sidewinder and a windmill nearby. But as you venture deeper into the farmland towards Titan, you'll find some mysterious warning signs that says do not enter, right before you find a secret base that's launching rockets. This is Titan. Titan's brand new theme is a secret base that's launching rockets in a farmland, and Titan is that rocket. When you enter the queue, from the outside it'll look like a normal western queue, but once you're inside, you'll see high-tech computers and advanced equipment that look like a lab. And as you board the Titan, you'll start ascending into space before dropping into a black hole with light effects reminiscent of Fury 325. The ride will also have a new paint scheme, and the trains will look way more themed, with a rocket aesthetic to it. Overall, this fits so much better than the current theme, because the current theme is essentially a clone to Goliath, and this makes Titan way more unique, as well as keeping its name. Plus, in terms of fitting with the land, it perfectly matches now, as since you now know that Big Ben is also an alien hotspot, seeing the farmland mixed with rockets launching in the background is really cool. Also, earlier I stated that Rodeo will be moved over, and this is the new home for Rodeo. Fitting in with the farmland theme, you would of course have a little bullpen, and so again it matches perfectly well. Of course, there's more to the land, with room for a possible expansion containing a giant coaster that hopefully one day will come to be, but we'll keep that one a secret. Anyways, that is the restructuring plan for Over Texas. Looking at all the areas, this is the solution to make Over Texas a top tier destination. The park suffers in theming, but if Six Flags were to invest and do something like this would break the image of Six Flags just being a corporate business that's just cheap. Clearly they can do so much more, but it's all up to them if they really want to put their heart into all their parks. In my past video, a lot of people call this impossible, and to some it could be. Again, this is my personal idea, and yes, I know there's a budget for stuff, but one could definitely imagine. And if we imagine a park like Over Texas getting upgrades like this, what if one day it becomes a reality? What if the higher ups see this, and it inspires them to make some changes? You never know, and this is why ideas matter. So just like that, this is my restructuring plan, and if you liked today's video, be sure to hit the like button, and subscribe to see more videos like this. Before I end the video, I'll play a recap of all the lands in the park. Anyways, thank you for watching. This is JB Thrill signing out.